Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Make that 160p. Wizzy boy. Yeah, boy. Yeah. Oh dear. Hello. Wizzy boy freaking out in the chat. Yeah, boy. Wait, is that Helix? Yes. Oh my god, yes. Ah. It is Helix. Hello, hello, hello. I'm back. I want everyone to know why I'm speaking quieter, so I can give some context. It is currently 12 o'clock in the morning, well, coming up to 12 o'clock in the morning, by the time the race begins. I am putting my life on the line. I have school tomorrow, and I could be killed. So, just so you know, I am putting my life on the line for this stream. So, if I'm quiet, I want no complaining, you understand me? When's the race start, lad? That is 5 PM BST. Anything for an F1 race. Yes, it seems so. Alright, well, let's get into the intros and everything else, because I am still your commentator for today. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jamie Perry, but you can call me Helix. I am your main commentator for Formula 1 here today. Unfortunately, TJ or Ryan couldn't make it, and I have done Formula 1 before on multiple occasions as main commentator and co-commentator. So hello, hello. I am putting my life on the line like I have said before, so please enjoy my commentary. We've got a pretty stacked lobby here today. We've got Jenga Boy on and Alfa Romeo, obviously moved from Williams. Obviously Naismith and JJ Alonso, a absolute goated duo in Mercedes, with Jordan being the current world champion and Naismith being a very big help in the constructors fight when Mercedes were crowned constructors champions. Wizzy Boy is in the Red Bull, and there he is. And I've got the wrong person. Wizzy Boy and Billy Wiz are teammates. That's not gonna get confusing. Who else? I think Hazy in the McLaren is a great driver, very consistent, very on the pace. I'm sure he's gonna be an exciting driver. Timu still in Williams, used to be teammates with Jenga Boy, but could never outperform his teammate. Timu gets run off the track. Through goes Jenga Boy. Oh man. We've got Seb. I think I've seen Seb's pace at the last race. I think I did co-coms, if I'm not wrong. If I'm not wrong. I might be wrong. Gabby, currently in F2. I don't know how on the pace he is in F1, but is a very competitive driver in Formula 2. Very exciting driver, so that's going to be interesting. Chimp has performed at times, won the Azerbaijan Grand Prix last year. I don't remember if he won any other races, but yeah, won that. Yeah. All very similar names. It's not the first time I've commentated for F1. It's definitely probably not the last, but hopefully in better circumstances where if I get caught, I'm going to die. Hold on, let me do an audio check just to see how quiet I am. Test, test. You know, that's fine. That's not too bad. Can't remember the last time I raced on Portugal, says Constella. Constella, who are you? On username, I mean. There's Lewis. I don't know how I'm F1 reserved, to be honest. I think there's a lot of people who don't know. Wizzy Boy says, don't have a setup. No. I'm not racing. I'm just spectating. Oh, okay. Oh, got ya. Yep. And Mr. Alfie, it's your boy Alfie, Formula 2 world champion moving up to Formula 1, is now joining the session. Alfie Alfie drives for McLaren, no? Or did he make a last-minute switch to, like, Alpine, was it? I don't know, I don't remember. Alpine, yeah, I thought so. You were McLaren for a while, and then it was just confirmed you were driving for Alpine. Okay, let's talk about Portugal for a second. Portugal, a lovely little track, lots of twisty turns. You need to be very technical, you need to be smart, and you need to be careful on throttle. Too much throttle and you are immediately spinning, and you need to be careful on how much throttle you have through some corners, because too much and you'll just spin off of that alone. Also need to be careful of braking, lots of elevation changes, lots of constant up and down and side to side like a roller coaster, quoted by Lando Norris. How do I check my role on the DC? On Discord? Yeah, click on your name. God, I've got an exam tomorrow. Look at me. Too good. 18 drivers now in the lobby, so we should be getting started soon enough. It's looking good. It's your boy Alfie, obviously, now in the session driving for Alpine. XX Shadow has shown pace in the past now and has. What subject? All of them. Just all of them. I've got, this week, I've got history, I've got math, I've got English, I've got science. I've got all of them. Not on one day, they're all spread out throughout the week, but bro, me and Billy have the same pace and we're teammates, and you both have Wiz in your name as well. I could really make nah, I won't make that joke. You're the Wizzy bros. The Wizzy boys. Okay. Yeah, let's go through some drivers. Obviously, like I said, Seb, from what I've seen, probably the most competitive driver here. He's been on par and even better than Jordan at multiple different times. Jordan's been better than Seb at multiple different times. It's going to be a very competitive fight, I think, between those two. I think Naismith can obviously join the fight. I think same with Jenga Boy and Hazy, if he can push the car. I think there's a lot of people who are on the pace or just behind and can really pressure everyone, so I think it's going to be very interesting on who wins this race. I heard, from what I've heard, F1 is much cleaner than F2. Now I don't know how many people in this chat know how chaotic Formula 2 is, and I don't know how many people watch Formula 2. Wizzy Boy would know because he's a two-time winner. It's pretty chaotic, so I think I'm used to it by now. I'm gonna bet on the Windex bottle cap. Windex bottle cap. Solid driver. Obviously has driven for AlphaTauri in Season 1 and Season 2, and has only driven in Formula 1? Or are they currently in F2? I might be wrong. But either way, Windex bottle cap. Great driver. I think solid midfield performer. I don't think I've seen them on the podium before, but I could be wrong on that statement. I mean, who knows, they could reach the podium today. It's Verstappen, by the way. I will call you Wiz. You know what, Wizzy Boy, let's make a bet here. I will call you Verstappen today, like in F2, right? I will call you Verstappen if you win. And in F1, I will call you Verstappen if you can get a top 5 result. I think that's pretty fair. Top 8? No, top 5. We're not gambling this. There's no auctioning, it's just, you know, top 5. Because I know you can do top 8. No, not top 7, top 5. Let me guess, you're gonna say top 6? No, it's top 5. It's top 5. Also, I'm getting more annoyed at you, Joshua, Mr. Jenga Boy. When are we getting going? Because it's already a minute after when we should have gone. Sorry, mate, the full-time guys showed up. It's starting now. Thank you, Joshua. Wizzy Boy saying he's gonna go first to last. Everyone's starting to ready up now. We're finally gonna get going. It's time for me to put my commentary expertise on, but keep a similar volume. I've already checked it. It's not too bad. And this is the volume you're getting, and this is what we've got. Alright, it's better than having no commentator and no stream at all, so enjoy. 1 second in, here we go. It is commentary time. It is qualifying time for the Portuguese Grand Prix here for round 2, for season 2 of the Formula 1 House of Racing grid. Very exciting. Apparently it's very competitive, very close between a lot of drivers, so it's going to be interesting who comes out on top here. Constella... Okay, wow, alright, you're not driving, so I don't think it matters. Good luck, you lot. Alright. Lewis says ready to get lapped. We will see, won't we? Gabby has already left the session, I'm guessing, because of internet issues or something on the lines of that. I mean, I'm excited for Portugal. I think Josh, from what I've seen, is very competitive around here, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a bit of bias when choosing this. Actually, that's not true, because I'm an admin and I know how the calendar decisions came about. Right, loading complete. All the drivers have readied up. Now it's time to get telemetry as usual. There we go. Alrighty. We're good to go. So, who will leave the pit lane first? Who will be the brave one to choose to drive and start their first fast lap here in Portugal, here for round 2? And there we do. There is Lewis in the AlphaTauri now coming out of the pit lane, and that is the first person to come out, so it will be the first person to most likely start a fast lap, depending on how fast or slow they take their out lap. There we go. Alright. So, it comes around the first corner, already a bit of elevation change, a bit of a dip going into a bit more of a higher area. Do your parents know you are awake? No, because I think they'd prefer for me to be asleep so I can focus on getting my exams passed. So, you know. But this is the cause I've gone into. Enough about how I sleep and how we are. It is time to drive. Lewis going left and right, swerving around, getting those tyres up to temperature. If we go to Chaldinho, you can also see Omar up ahead of him. So both McLarens coming out now. If we go down a bit, we can see the Aston Martin of Tiorent now into what seems to be the 5th corner, if I'm not wrong, and then into probably one of the trickiest corners slash straights, which you do not want to mess up, and the easiest to spin on. By too much throttle, you just immediately get up there. Also having the wrong racing line, it is very tricky. I think this corner here is also quite tricky, because you don't want to mess up the braking zone and be too early on the throttle. So Tiorent nice and slowly getting past that area. There's Marco in the Ferrari. He's performed well in the past, so it's going to be interesting what he might be able to do. Lewis now comes over the timing line to be the first one to start their fast lap. Yellow flag in sector 3, down into the first corner, breaks into the 50-meter mark, keeps it nice and clean, goes a bit wide and invalidates. Kept it clean in the beginning, but messed it up going into the next area. So let's go to the Alfa Romeo of, was it Jenga Boy? I don't know, is he on an outlap, or... I'm not 100% sure. I think he might be on a fast lap. I think that's the AlphaTauri getting out of the way. We'll watch this lap anyway, and yes, he is on a fast lap, goes purple in the first sector, so the Alfa Romeo to follow pursuit from the AlphaTauri, now looking very speedy. Purple in the first sector, he's looking very decent here, nice and clean around these corners. You've got a bit of elevation, this is where a lot of drivers can mess it up, but does Jenga Boy mess it up? No, he keeps it very clean in the Alfa Romeo with the Ferrari engine, giving him all the power he needs Now through here, obviously wants less power as this is a more higher downforce circuit, but also quite fast. Purple in the second as well, but obviously apart from the AlphaTauri, he was the second man to start their fast lap, so no surprises. Around a very windy corner now, trying to keep the power nice and neat, and eventually it's pedal to the metal, full throttle, maybe a small lift, but overall you're pretty good up to the timing line. What can the Alfa Romeo do? It's a 1:17.5, a very solid time for the Alfa Romeo to start us off. Wizzy Boy gets a 1:17.9, only 4 tenths down for the two-time Formula 2 winner. Let's go to Cialdini or Hazy as he comes into the very tight braking zone. You don't want to mess that up, keeps it clean, goes just against the curb there. Yellow flag again, probably letting a driver by, and that is what seems to be Hazy's teammate of Omar, letting him by into the winding corner, making sure not to mess it up. Hasn't spun. Once again, pedal to the middle, full throttle, got very close to track limits but did not mess it up. Keeps it clean all the way through. Gear 8, DRS active, crosses the line and gets a 1:17.7, so only a tenth off Seb, who now goes P2 with a 1:17.6, and Wizzy Boy falls down to P4 with Naismith with a 1:18.1, so maybe falling under the pace, or maybe that's just where he's comfortable at. Not 100% sure at this time. Chimp with a 1:18.3 goes P6. Tiorent with a 1:18.7. Let's go down to someone who's still on a fast lap at the moment. Let's go to the Haas of Zinc, currently in P12 as he continues to fall down, as he hasn't set a lap, into a nice elevation change into the tight braking zone, as I've said before, into this corner. Keeps it nice and neat, nice and clean, doesn't mess it up at all. Onto that curb eventually, goes into the braking zone, doesn't want to lock those rear tyres, keeps it nice and neat, no issues. Yellow flag in the sector third. Not too many issues here. Pedal to the metal, full throttle, gets a decent slipstream from the Ferrari. Will he be moving out of the way? Not 100% sure. It seems he comes into the pit lane either way. DRS active as he comes over the timing line to get a 1:18.4 and goes to P7 with his teammate just over a tenth behind in P8 with a 1:18.575. So not bad from both Haas's, a solid midfield result so far. Let's go down to Lee Craig, who is in the Williams, who hasn't invalidated, lucky enough, currently in P14 before he sets his lap. Now through here, nice dip in elevation, trying to keep the car as stable as possible. You do not want to spin it when this close to the timing line. Now around the area where you can just full throttle it. This is where you're pretty much finished with the lap. Nice and open, straight. DRS active over the timing line, gets a 1:18.7 and moves up to P10. Solid from the Williams. Most drivers now won't be able to improve on their times unless they really had a struggling lap on the lap prior, so most of them will be coming into the pits now. Jenga Boy, yeah, already in the pits, 0 lap tires, so obviously he's already switched and thought about it. Some people I want to think about though is Jordan. It's your boy Alfie, Timu, Omar, have all not set a lap yet, but I will say, as I say that, he's not in the pits. So something I didn't pick up on is that he's not in the pit lane. Oh, hello, Red Bull getting very close there. I'm sure Jordan is going to be a bit spooked, but isn't too phased by it. Purple in the first sector, and the Mercedes is already starting to set this lap alight. 16 viewers, hello, hello, welcome to the stream. So now, Jordan goes into the nice easy corner here, into a much harsher corner. Once again, you don't want to mess it up. Very easy to spin there, very easy to go too easy on throttle, and then eventually just immediately go onto a spin. But he keeps it clean. Tight braking zone here, you want to brake early so then you can open up the corner for yourself. Eventually it's full throttle once again. It's purple in the second sector, and now the Mercedes is looking very strong here in quali. It's his first run, but he's already looking faster than everyone else. Jenga Boy currently got a 1:17.5, full throttle now, yellow flag in sector 1 and sector 2. This is looking very strong for the Mercedes. He's going to be full throttle. DRS will activate over the timing line. He gets a 1:17.8, and he must have struggled in the last sector, and must have really struggled there. Only P4. That keeps Cialdini, Seb and Jenga Boy in the top 3. so Jordan just couldn't extract full pace. Let's go to the Red Bull of Billy Wiz for a second, who is now finishing up his lap, gets a 144.3, so obviously struggled there. Let's go to Itchy Boy Alfie, who is on an out lap, obviously letting other drivers who are on a fast lap go by. And I want to talk about Itchy Boy Alfie. He was the Formula 2 world champion. He showed incredible pace. He drove for Ferrari last year, and now he's here in F1, fully deserving of it. Let's see what he can do. DRS will be active, goes over the timing line to begin his first fast lap of the session. So the Alpine goes into the dip of elevation, goes to the 50-meter mark, doesn't go over the track limit, so that's a good start for the Alpine. Into the next braking zone, you want to not lock up those tyres, does a decent job there. Also doesn't want to get on the throttle too early, otherwise you'll lose the rear, which he doesn't do. Solid results so far for the Alpine. Going to start finishing up the first sector as he comes around this corner. Not too bad, keeps it neat, nice and close to that apex as well. Is looking decent for It's Your Boy Alfie. Currently in P19, but obviously hasn't set a time. Goes down one gear, eventually up into the high elevation change, trying not to spin, trying not to make a mess. Ferrari could have gotten in the way there, not 100% sure. The Alpine still keeping it nice and neat as he now comes through the tight braking zone, doesn't mess it up, keeps it clean all the way through, full throttle. And once again, Portugal having all these elevation changes, you want to keep the car as balanced as possible, trying to get the setup absolutely perfect, because I know there's a lot of very competitive drivers who want to succeed here. Now, the Alpine taking a very similar drive to Jordan, or line, sorry, to Jordan, up into the last bit of the lap, up to the straight. DRS will activate, then it's there, and it's a 118.4, so a bit off the pace. That puts him down in P10. Not too bad though. There's and you know what, we counted out Naismith before, but that is a very solid time, 117.3, and that is Jenga Boy maybe spinning, losing the rear. I'm not 100% sure on what actually happened there, but maybe just getting out of the way for another driver. Let's go to Seb, who, if I'm not wrong, is now on a fast lap. We haven't watched a lot of Seb here, and from what I've heard and from what I'm seeing, he's a very competitive driver. He seems to be on the pace. Let's see if he's able to go purple in any of these sectors like Naismith did previously. We also need to have a look out for Jordan, who's in the pits but could be coming out in a couple of laps. So Seb now coming through here, trying to keep it nice and neat, one gear shift down just like the other drivers. Not as many gear shifts to go up this higher elevation change, not too bad though. Drivers staying out of the way for the most part, but he's going to get a whole lot of traffic up here. Doesn't seem to be too bothered. Into the tight braking zone, nice and neat for the Ferrari so far. This is looking very clean, very neat. Purple in the second sector, so the Ferrari's starting to show a bit of pace on their side. I was 4/10 up, but I invalidated, says Wizzy Boy in the Twitch chat. Unfortunate for Wizzy Boy, who is currently driving for the Red Bull in P6, so solid result for him. The Formula 2 driver currently showing what he can do in Formula 1. So Seb will cross the line and get a 117.2, and that felt fast, and it definitely is 1/10 quicker than Naismith, or at least, definitely a 10th ahead, so not too bad by the Ferrari driver. Let's go down a little bit, see if we can catch someone else who's currently on a fast lap. Let's go to Ozza Swazza, who's unfortunately invalidated. What about Tiorent? Well, he hasn't invalidated. DRS active over the timing line. Stays P15 for now. Unfortunate for him. What about Gabby? Not on an out lap, on a fast lap. Here's the Alfa Romeo, and no, unfortunately gets on the throttle too early and goes into a spin. Unfortunate for the Alfa Romeo. There's Shadow, invalidated unfortunately, so into the pits he comes. What about Zinc? Out on a fast lap here, trying to keep it as clean as possible, making sure not to over rev that throttle, otherwise he will spin, lose the rear, and potentially go into the gravel. And you know what, for the Haas driver, he is absolutely belting in a lap here. Purple in the first sector. This Haas is really starting to show what he can do around Portugal. Into the next couple of corners, tries to keep it as neat as possible. If he can keep this elevation change neat, this is looking very good for the Haas. He doesn't mess it up. Down, big dip into here, keeps it nice and clean. Great cinematic shots here around Portugal. Into here, it's going to look great for the F1 intro I'll be doing later on, I think next year when the new stuff comes out. Up into here, slight rise in elevation, but then goes back into a dip into the braking zone. Kind of helps out the cars, but it also doesn't, because you gain more speed going downhill. Eventually it's full throttle, nothing else to really worry about, just keep it on track limits, don't spin it. What can the Haas do? Didn't go purple in the second, he goes P9, so not too bad from the Haas. Doesn't improve majorly, so Seb obviously with that 117.2, doesn't seem anyone has been able to improve. 3/10 up goes Jordan. I don't know if that was a purple though. We're going to have to see as he comes across the line. Can the Mercedes take that provisional pole? I haven't seen if he took any purple laps. No, but he does go P3 just behind his teammate and just over a tenth if I'm not wrong. So the Mercedes currently in a P2 and P3 position, not too bad. The Alfa Romeo of Jenga Boy obviously on his second fast lap of the session. He looked very quick around Portugal. Once again, I haven't seen what type of lap times he was setting before. He's going to come to the main straight, full throttle. DRS will be active. Timing line shows P4 if I'm not wrong, so not too bad from the Alfa Romeo. It's a solid result so far. Let's go down to Wizzy Boy, who unfortunately has invalidated for the second time running. It would have been a 129.1, which I'm guessing must have been from some type of spin or something. He must have backed out. So here's the McLaren of Omar, 0 lap tyres, not on an outlap, normally a great signal that he is on a fast lap, 1/10 up so far, so looking very competitive for the McLaren driver. Yellow flag in sector 3, but it doesn't seem to be too much of an issue. The Aston Martin skipping the corner, I can see that in the corner of my eye. Anyway, the McLaren now going up the high elevation change, making sure to keep it nice and neat as possible. 3 minutes left in this qualifying session. Naismith and Seb on 0 lap tyres. Are they going to come out again, or are they going to be sticking back into the pit lane, relaxing like Sebastian Vettel did in the Singapore Grand Prix all those years ago? Into the corner goes Omar, keeps it nice and neat, no issues with braking or anything else. Now into this bit of a tight corner, don't want to mess it up. Doesn't, full throttle, pedal to the metal, yellow flags in sector 3. Shouldn't affect Omar in the slightest though. DRS will be active, all the energy has been used, and goes P7. Not too bad, 117.7. It's getting more and more quicker for drivers, so Wizzy Boy finally gets the opportunity to set a lap, gets a 117.7 and goes P8. What about it's your boy Alfie? Once again, the Formula 2 champion. Will have eyes on him here in the stream. Let's get some more cinematic shots as he goes downhill to finish off his lap. Keeps it nice and neat for the most part. Eventually gets to the timing line and goes P11 just behind his teammate with a 118.4. So solid result for him at this current stage. Gabby, who is also not on an outlap, it seems to be starting up theirs. We need to have a look at other people. Naismith is on an outlap, Lee Craig and Hazy also, but Omar, Wizzy Boy are on 1 lap. Old tyres and Itchy Boy Alfie obviously now on a fast lap, so I think I may have judged that wrong for the F2 champion. Obviously we're currently looking at Gabby. A lot of drivers still on their outlaps now. 3/10 up on previous sector 2 times, so solid from the Alfa Romeo as they now go into the next couple of corners. I apologise if I'm being quite quiet, but like I said, I have my reasons on why. Sector 2 and sector 3, there must be a driver going slow for some type of reason. Anyway, the Alfa Romeo now makes way into the last bit of the lap onto the straight, into the timing line, and goes P10. 2/10 quicker than the previous time, getting a 118.3, so solid from the Alfa Romeo. Now let's go to Naismith, who seems to be a very fast driver through here. No longer on an outlap. DRS active. 8/10 up. I don't know if that was his lap or if he's starting it now. I'm guessing not, because they're 0 lap tyres. So here's the Mercedes. We'll have a look at his lap, but we'll also switch between a couple others as Jordan and Josh both start their out laps. Let's also switch between Hazy right now as he's also on his fast lap, but unfortunately invalidates, and that's going to be the end of his run here in quali unless he can cross the line in time, and he definitely won't with that spin unless he decides to corner cut. 2 lap old tyres for Omar, so it might be all over for him. Jenga Boy and Jordan are about to start. Let's focus back on Naismith. 500 slower in the second sector, so it hasn't been able to improve in the second sector. Don't know how he was in the first. Breaking into the next corner, nice and tight obviously, and does lose the rear a little bit, but does go purple in the second. So now showing a bit of pace, doesn't invalidate, gets very close to track limits. Yellow flags all over the show, trying to make room and way for the Mercedes. Omar has retired, so obviously some type of incident there. That must have been one of the yellow flags, and that I have been distracted by. Seb with a 117.2 so far. What can the Mercedes do? He's backed out of it and is going into the pits. So Naismith will not be the fastest man on track today. Jordan, though, currently starting his final lap here. He might be getting a bit of traffic from the Aston Martin. I don't know how he'll feel about that. The current Formula 1 champion might not be able to improve with the current status that he is on. Jenga Boy. No, I had purple Sector 1 and Sector 2 goes Wizzy Boy. Can't improve though. P8 with checkered flag running, 3-lap-old tyres. Here's the Alfa Romeo of Jenga Boy. What can he do? He showed a bit of pace on his first run. What can he do now coming through here? No, he comes into the pit, so he will most likely start P4, but let's not count out other drivers. I think Ozaswaza is on some fresh compounds on his fast lap, 1/10 up. What can Ozaswaza do? He goes P16 with a 118.4, can't improve massively, and I think that might be it. So, let's talk about Seb, as he goes with a 116.9, huge lap, massive improvement I think from what he originally set. So really, really good run from the Ferrari and really starting to put down his mark and pace for the race. So really, really solid result from the Ferrari. Naismith will line up alongside, a little distance behind, Jordan, who just can't seem to be on the same pace as Nay or Seb, just has to sit back in P3. Josh will be in P4, Lee Craig and the Williams in P5, Hazy and Omar P6 and P7 driving for McLaren. The two-time Formula 2 winner and Red Bull driver for today starting P8 for Wizzy Boy. Seb, question mark, question mark, question mark. Yeah, Seb is an incredible driver, says Wizzy Boy in the Twitch chat. There's Shadow P9, P11 is Zinc, P12 is Lewis, P13 is Gabby, P14 is Turrent in the Aston Martin, P15, the Formula 2 World Champion, is It's Your Boy Alfie, P16, Ozaswaza. I don't know if he was just finishing up his lap there, probably not, and I think that is it now. So, nice lap, Seb, says Naismith in the Twitch chat, and Wizzy Boy says F1 esports pace. Is he on PC? Is he doing a Thomas Runner? Kidding, kidding. He's on PlayStation. It says on his name. I went. Naismith says I went purple sector 2 on last lap and backed out. Yeah, I saw that. I was looking at your lap on stream. Unfortunate, but yeah. So Seb on pole for the race here at Portugal for round 2, season 2 here in House of Racing here for Formula 1. DRL Naismith obviously lines up alongside 4 tenths down, and to finish off the top 3 is Jordan. Not on the pace he probably wants to be, 5 tenths down on the leader if I'm not wrong with a 117.4. So now we go to the race, the exciting part of the weekend and the area that I need to be the most cautious for. Kidding. Alright. I don't want to guess what Wizzy Boy has just said in the Twitch chat. Alrighty, once again, as you can see in the outlines of each pit crew, we've said this multiple times, it's a running joke, but honestly it's really good here. And Kia says, evening Kia, welcome to race time here in Portugal. So as you can see, the pit crew doing their routine T poses, really getting the stretching and really getting ready to put in those 2.5, even 2.1 second pit stops, really getting ready to deliver for the drivers who will now drive here in House of Racing for the final time this weekend here for the race here for Portugal. And so now one red light will show for the formation lap to begin. So let's get some stuff up and ready to go. So we get some tires, we get some telemetry, we get some lap data, and obviously we get the full track map. Let's follow Seb here while we go through the formation laps. So obviously the Ferrari driver set an incredible lap of a 1:16.9, nailed it all and got P1, so not too shabby from the Ferrari driver. P2 is DRL Naismith, 4/10 down on the Ferrari, just couldn't extract full pace. Seb starting on hards, him starting on mediums, and to follow on mediums is his teammate Jordan in P3. P4 on the hard compounds is Jenga Boy or Josh. Just obviously couldn't extract the most out of the lap, and P4 is still a solid result for the Alfa Romeo, so it's going to be interesting what he can do on the worst side of the track when there's less rubber and less grip. P5 is Lee Craig, P6 in the McLaren is Chaldinho with his teammate Omar in P7. Wizzy Boy, the two-time Formula 2 winner, currently in P8. He's out-qualified the Formula 2 champion last year, so it's going to be interesting what he can do from P8. P9 is Shadow, P10 is the Alpine of Chimp, P11 is Zinc, P12 Lewis, P13 is the Alfa Romeo of Gabby, current F2 driver, but may be moved up to F1 if they continue to perform better and continue to move up and maybe higher up on the grid if they can continue to improve as a driver overall. Tyrant in the Aston Martin P14, P15, your Formula 2 world champion from season 1, currently P15. I need to hurry this up as they slightly get on the grid now. P16 in the Aston Martin Ozaswaza, P17 Windex Bottle Cap or Goya, P18 Marco, P19 in the Williams Timu, and to finish off in the Red Bull, Billy Whiz on the hard compounds. So the drivers start to line up on the grid for the final time here in Portugal. Naismith to follow, Jordan to follow, and eventually all of them start to get their final warm-ups done. A couple drivers getting disqualified. Eventually it's going to be green flag running to allow the lights to go. This camera is a bit wobbly, but we're going to have to deal with it. So nerves start to grow. It starts to get interesting. Green flags running. 5 red lights. The lights go out, and it's pedal to the metal for the Portuguese Grand Prix. It's a good getaway from Seb in the Ferrari. Doesn't seem to have too many issues, but you can see the Alfa Romeo of Josh just seeming to get closer. But Jordan up into P2, solid maneuver there, and the Mercedes has done well. Naismith, on the other hand, not so much, down to P4. So already the top switching around a bit. Omar in the McLaren P5, P6 hazy, so it seems they've switched positions. Shadow down to P9, fighting away with the Williams of Lee Craig. Not too bad. Let's go down to P17, where I think we see Windex Bottle Cap, who's full down the grid, and also we can see Billy Whiz, who started P20 up to P19, unfortunately has a spin, and Chimp in P20, who's obviously had some type of big incident, starting to catch P19. Interesting start already. Jordan now leads the Grand Prix as he gets the overtake done on Seb, so great pace from the Mercedes here, and wow, purple in the second sector already. Jordan is setting this lap, this race alight. What a start from the Mercedes, and it seems we have another drop down. This time it's hazy, and it's really unfortunate. He has some type of spin or too confident on the throttle. Unfortunately, it's allowing other drivers to get by, eventually back on the throttle, but he's going to be P16 before anything else is done. Marco down to P18 as he has a bit of a loss in rear, and it seems Windex Bottle Cap losing some time there as well. Jenga Boy or Joshua down to P4, obviously fighting away with Naismith as both Mercedes are now in podium positions. Not too bad. Omar, by the way, starting to put a bit of pressure on the Alfa Romeo of Jenga Boy. Nothing too serious at the moment. Does the McLaren make the move? No, he doesn't. He keeps it nice and tight for the moment. Ozaswaza, the first man to pick up a penalty, P12. Is he fighting away with anyone? Well, yeah, he's in a huge crowd of people. We go now into Tyrant. You can kind of start to see where this group is starting to fight away. Here's Tyrant on Ozaswaza. It seems to be a switch in maneuvers for teams. Does Chaldinho also get the move done on Ozaswaza? well, that rear is starting to move a little bit, but the McLaren and Aston Martin are going to continue to fight away wheel to wheel, but it seems the McLaren overall has got that job done. Not too bad from the McLaren. So P12 Turin, P11 Zinc, and the Haas still fighting away in this big old pack of people. Unfortunately, the Red Bulls kind of driving in their own little area at the moment. Billy Whiz and Wizzy Boy not doing so well at the start of this race. As you can see, Lewis now getting a decent slipstream on it, your boy Alfie, and as we say that, he unfortunately spins and is starting to lose multiple positions, trying to do a pirouette to get going again. Unfortunate for the AlphaTauri. Let's move back up to the front of the grid where we can see Jordan or Jadro Lance are fighting away with Seb here, trying to get some type of getaway from the front to create a bit of a gap, pretty much trying to pull a Verstappen for the entire F1 season here in 2023. Down into the dip, trying to gain as much time to create as big as a gap to get away from the Ferrari driver. Seb does seem to have less race pace at this current time, but we're going to have to see as we go up to the higher elevation changes. Maybe Ferrari doing better through corners. We'll have to wait and see as the Mercedes starts to dip down, following by the Ferrari, and in P3 currently is the Mercedes. Down in P4 is Josh, so hasn't really lost too much time, but is struggling. Obviously, if I'm not wrong, started P4, currently P4, so not too bad. P5 Lee Craig, so not bad for the Williams driver right now, and is getting closer to the gearbox of Josh. We'll have to continue to see what happens as the laps go by. Omar also not too far away from Lee Craig in the Williams, as all of them are going to get a decent slipstream for lap 3 to start the DRS off here in Portugal. As you can see, DRS has now been activated for the McLaren, but it's also going to be activated for the Williams, and obviously the Alfa Romeo of Josh does not have it. Down the inside goes the Williams, no patience at all, and it seems Josh nearly goes off the track, keeps it clean for the most part. The Alfa Romeo really sweeping across the track to try and defend position, and a decent little fight here down in the midfield. Is the McLaren of Omar going wheel to wheel with the Williams of Lee Craig around the outside, trying to fight away. Decent defending from the Williams, but is it going to be a switchback from the McLaren? Gets better grip, but unfortunately just misses out. P6 for Omar so far. Yellow flag once again. It seems to be the Red Bull of Billy Wiz just really struggling, not being patient enough with the temperatures of the tyres, and it's not going to help because they're only going to get harder for the Red Bull. So as you can see, 7/10, still not too far away. Seb just seems to be sticking with the Mercedes cause of DRS and cause of slipstream. Swaz are fighting away with Turin down in the midfield, so not too bad for the Mercedes of Jordan, who makes up a decent amount of overtakes at the beginning of the race. Sector 3 yellow flag seems to be the Red Bull once again, and that is a safety car. Whoa, okay, something's happened here, and it seems to maybe be Billy Whiz, and it is Billy Whiz. Yep, he's not gone into the pit lane. He tried driving forward and has hit the barrier, and that will be the first safety car of today. An eventful start for sure. Lots of overtakes, lots of exciting moments, and a decent amount of time. Lewis gets a drive-through penalty, and that sees Timu come into the pits, followed by Lewis, who will now follow behind. Not too bad for a couple of drivers. A bunch of people deciding to box early and deciding to choose this strategy. So, chaos starts to be reverted, as I like to say in Formula 2, because all we see is crashes and spins in safety cars. It's kind of what I'm used to by now. So yeah, a couple drivers coming into the pit lane, deciding to box early onto hard compounds, which is probably the smartest decision if you're deciding to box now. Great job from Jadro Lancer, who made some early overtakes, doing very well. Let's actually have a look at what the overtakes are saying. So if we have a look at the position changes, Jordan goes up 2 positions to currently be in P1. Seb down to P2, unfortunately loses the position that he had gained from getting a pole with a 116.9. Naismith goes down a position 2, started P2, now in P3. Josh obviously equal to where he started in P4. Lee Craig also staying in P5, so solid result for the Williams so far, who has done well against his teammate Timu, who is down in P18, but obviously boxed for new hards. Omar up a position, Shadow up 2 positions, and Gabby up 5 positions in P8. Down in P9, Chaldinho, who's gone down 3 positions, unfortunately had an early spin which didn't help him out in the slightest, but decent recovery nonetheless. It's your boy Alfie in P10 made up 5 positions, so the F2 champion showing why he should be here in Formula 1. Zinc in P11 equal to where he started, obviously. Tiorent 2 positions up, and 3 positions up is his teammate Ozaswaza, who is in P13. Another 3 positions up is Windex Bottle Cap or Goya in the AlphaTauri. If I'm not wrong, was struggling in the beginning, but not too bad from the AlphaTauri. P15 is the Ferrari teammate of Seb, which is Marco, 3 positions up so far. Chimp down 6 positions. Wizzy Boy really struggling here. 2 wins in F2, but unfortunately 9 positions down in this Formula 1 race here in Portugal. Timu 1 position up, and Lewis 7 positions down, but we still need to consider pit stops and decisions. Wizzy Boy says Omar spun and I went into him and I lost my wing. Unfortunate, to say the least. So let's go back onto tyres here. So now we know the grid, we know what types of overtakes people have made. Currently the Mercedes looking, the cinematic cam is a little broken at the moment, so we'll have to see what the camera crew is doing about that. So Seb has a bit of a job to do. He has a bit of an opportunity. He can gain decent time from this, and DRS obviously will be another 3 laps away from being activated once again. Safety car is in this lap, so decent information for us as we get going again. As you can see, back and forth, swerving left and right. Green flag will be out as safety car starts to pull away from the rest of the pack. Naismith in P3 probably wanting Jordan to maybe help out and get himself up into P2, or maybe Jordan will play the selfish game here. He'll play the championship role. He is the F1 world champion. It's going to be interesting what Jordan does here. Cinematic cam seems to be a little broken at the moment, so what will Jordan do? He needs to pull the trigger eventually, and yes, he does pull the trigger. Let's go to Seb here, who now activates ERS. It seems Jordan gets a better pull away, but only for the beginning. Better slipstream here as green flag running begins. Omar already loses a position. Now it's looking like 2 positions as an Alfa Romeo fights away with the Haas, and Gabby, oh no, Gabby has a spin fighting away with the Haas of Zinc, and that has not gone well, and there seems to be multiple incidences. There's the Red Bull of Wizzy Boy fighting away with Chimp. There's the Haas of Zinc, and this has all gone very chaotic in the beginning of safety car restart. That has not gone well. A 3-way fight here in the lower midfield, as we can see Red Bull, Alfa Romeo, Aston Martin. I think that's also an Alpine there in the fight, and this is quite an interesting battle. It seems Wizzy Boy is going to get ahead of all of them, but that fight is definitely not going to be over until it's over. Wow, what an interesting way of turning that around. It seems Omar and It's Your Boy Alfie gonna go will to will. Omar is a go, so it's gonna be interesting how the FIA treat that, and that is Lee Craig out of the race. Is that gonna be another safety car? Down he goes, drop, and yes it is. Safety car immediately after the safety car restart, and that has not gone well for any driver who wanted to get away on the safety car restart, and it seems Jordan will have to do exactly what he did last time, able to keep position. Not too bad from the Mercedes. Seb also able to keep position, same with Naismith and same with Josh, but great job from Shadow, who moves up to P5, and Hazy as well up to P6. This time round though, Jordan decides to flick the switch. Into the pits he comes, trying to get those tyres changed. We have terrible lighting though. We get to see none of the pit stop, and it seems half the grid is starting to pit now, so people like Lewis with a penalty and 3-lap old hard compounds really starting to benefit off that. Now into P7, not too bad. As you can see, Seb will now take the race lead, but is he going to decide to box? Because those hard compounds, though they'll be able to last quite a while, maybe even 15-16 laps, eventually he will have to pull that trigger and box, and it will not go his way if he does it any later than a couple of laps from now. Naismith in P2 also needs to think about that, especially on medium compounds with a higher degradation, that mediums will have P3 as Jenga Boy. Obviously everyone goes up multiple positions because of incidences and crashes that have occurred. Let's talk about people who have moved. Jordan obviously has boxed, that's why he's down in P9, so no spins or crashes for him. Lewis says, bruh, I'm about to do my DT. If you could specify on what DT is. Sorry, I'm focusing on the race. So yeah, Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3 yellow flags, obviously, to represent that there is a safety car out. And obviously, once again, chaos has been neutralized. And everything goes back to zero. Back to square one. Shadow, who originally had a decent go, is now in P11, obviously boxed and made I think the correct decision on that. Drive through, he meant. Oh, okay. So about to do my drive through, says Lewis. Chimp in P8, so decent stuff from Chimp, able to do better around now. It's going to be interesting how people are going to treat the strategy around Portugal, because obviously some people, even some main competitors like Jordan and Hazy and other drivers on that type of length is going to be already having their pit stop served. There's Zinc coming into the pits. Wonder if he's going to be going on to new hards as well, or if he's coming on to medium. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, the Haas crew is at the very bottom. Eventually, he'll see it. Is it going to be hard compounds for the Haas driver? And it seems to be the white stripe, so yes it is. So the Haas will come out just like a lot of the rest of the grid on hard compounds. There's Seb in P1, obviously on 8-lap old compounds though, so it's going to be an interesting factor for the Ferrari. How is he going to handle it? Especially Naismith, who is now on 8-lap old mediums, the same as Omar in the McLaren, currently in P6. A lot of decision making to do for the top drivers so far. Are they going to box and potentially ruin their race, seeing that these drivers up here have pretty much saved themselves 10, maybe 20 seconds worth of pit stop time just because they did it under safety car condition? This is going to be very interesting for the rest of the race. Has people like Seb and Naismith really ruined it for themselves, as well as Josh as well? Obviously, strategy plays a huge role here in Formula 1. Strategy can be the game changer from leading a race to becoming last. You know, obviously you need the skill to drive, you need to be able to be aware and have confidence, but without being a dangerous driver. But there's also the teams, there's the thought behind all the process that brings in the pit stop, when, where, and how. So let's go through it all. So Seb in P1 in the Ferrari did a decent job. 9-lap old hards, though he needs to consider if he's going to box anytime soon, especially for Naismith, who is on medium compounds. Josh P3 in the Alfa Romeo, also on 9-lap old hards. Wizzy Boy says, if I get higher than P8, I better call you Verstappen. No, top 5. I said top 5. Anyway, Jenga Boy P3, P4 Ozza Swazza, P5 Timu and the Williams. Not too bad from Timu, making a lot of position gains, but you also have to consider a lot of these top drivers will not stay there because they still need to box. Omar P6 on 9-lap old mediums, P7 is Lewis, P8 is Chimp, P9 Jordan, P10 Hazy, P11 Shadow and the Haas, P12 Windex Bottle Cap. Bruh, I got taken out 2 times and I was last. Yeah, well, the deal's the deal, man. The deal's the deal. P12 is Windex Bottle Cap in the AlphaTauri. P13 is the Ferrari of Marco. P14 is Wizzy Boy, as we've said. P15 Gabby. P16 F2 Champion, it's your boy Alfie. P17 Tioran, and P18 Zinc, with Lee Craig and Billy Wiz unfortunately DNFing and retiring from the race. Obviously, safety car is in this lap. Once again going through the grid, once again getting underway. So chaos may start to begin again. We now go to Naismith, a different driver now starting the safety car restart. So it's going to be interesting when the Ferrari decides to pull the trigger. Nice little cinematic shot as we follow Naismith through the final, well, real final corner here at Portugal, the one we have to work the real hardest, I guess. We're going to have a look at the telemetry on Seb. When is he going to pull the trigger? 115 kilometers at the moment. He's going really late here. And he's second for the Ferrari driver. And there you go. He's pulled the trigger. Has he been able to get away with it? It seems he's at least been able to keep a gap. Lewis has already had a bunch of penalties added to him. 5 seconds. We're going to go wheel to wheel into the first corner for P9 for Chaldinho, at least for now. Goes off the track. He's gotten squeezed. No penalty seems to be applied for him though. P14, P15 for Windex Bottle Cap. Unfortunately losing a couple of positions there as he gets all out of shape. Now up the elevating area. It seems the Aston Martin of Tiorent wants a piece of the Ferrari of Marco, which now he makes the move. P13, not too bad. There's a huge crowd of drivers at the moment. Interesting, no damage actually occurred. It seems to be 4-way, 3-way at times. Very interesting, and that is Wizzy Boy, who's had a spin in the Red Bull, unfortunately for him, migrating host, and that is not good. Jenga Boy's left the session. That is not good. We're going to have to be aware of internet just because of that. I think we should be fine. Anyway, Wizzy Boy now P17. Unfortunate for the spin. Windex Bottle Cap. And oh my days. Absolute chaos as drivers going all over the place now. Around the outside looking to maybe make a move. There's a spin. And that's Jordan. Jordan has had a spin in Sector 3, and that has not gone well at all for J.J. Alanza, the current driver's champion, all out of shape. Let's go up to the front where Seb seems to be absolutely cruising, 6/10 ahead of Naismith, no DRS active for 2 more laps, so this is very calm and relaxing for one of the Mercedes drivers and one for the Ferrari drivers. Josh in P3, unfortunately though, it's his bot driving as he has left the session. It's migrated host probably to me as a spectator, so this has not gone well, but it seems the internet is holding up. You hear that, Jenga Boy? The internet is holding up. Anyway, it seems because Josh is a ghost and an AI is driving for him, it seems Timu is now P3. A player has requested to join. Anyway, my apologies. We continue to stream and commentate. I had to get Jenga Boy to watch me, but here we go. Now, Tiorent. P9 currently, Aston Martin looking good, P9 and P10. Windex Bottle Cap, obviously a ghost as well, the Haas of Zinc in P13, looking to maybe make a move on Marco and the Ferrari. Lots of chaos unfolding, but honestly much cleaner than the one we had before where safety car was deployed immediately. A lot of fighting happening here in the midfield. P10 and P9 of Aston Martins, doesn't seem to be any team orders at this current time. Let's go to DRL Naismith, who doesn't have DRS on this occasion, but DRS is going to be enabled this time round. It seems the Ferrari almost slowing down, or just the pure slipstream from the Mercedes carrying this team to a potential overtake before any DRS is even activated. The Mercedes doesn't make a move though. Up the elevation change, has to be aware that his rear may slip out. DRS gonna help him keep that 5/10 gap for the current stages of this race, into that corner. Not too bad. Let's go down. Tiorent has had some type of incident. It seems some type of spin. He's going to be a ghost and not going to be in the way of drivers, so not too bad for the Aston Martin. And unfortunate scenes for Jordan, who was on 6-lap old hard compounds and would have been able to really have a chance at a really good result later on when other drivers would have to box, but P15 would see him potentially P5 or P6 after people have boxed. Really not the start that the Mercedes would need. Omar and Marco Angelo here getting a great little fight between the sorry, it's your boy Alfie and Omar, my apologies for that mix up. Here we go into the next couple of corners though. Lots of elevation changes, a nice sorry about that, just being aware of my surroundings. Obviously, I'm not supposed to be up at this time. We get back to commentary though. P10 in the McLaren is Omar. In P9 it's your boy Alfie in the Alpine. Not too bad so far. P8 is Ozza Swazza, who's unfortunately had a spin, and that is not going to be great for the Aston Martin with the 13 on his car. Eventually he's going to be allowed to do the pirouette, making sure to not block too much traffic. He's done it safely. Hazy unfortunately has had a spin. He's not done great there, and down to P11 he goes. Unfortunate for the McLaren at this current time. It seems to be okay, so we keep commentating at the volume we were at before. The Haas fighting away with the Ferrari of Marco. Marco in P9, also fighting away with Omar just ahead, but Omar is a ghost and the AI is driving for him. So, not great for the Ferrari. It's your boy Alfie in P7 in the Alpine. Not too bad from the Formula 2 champion, and is only on 6 lap old medium, so pretty solid result for the Alpine so far. Marco in the Ferrari still fighting away with the Haas of Zinc. That's going to be very interesting. I've apparently received a friend request mid-stream. This is great. Jenga Boy in P6. He's back to driving now, which is nice. Obviously, 1.5 second gap with the 14 lap old hard compounds, and that's the same for pretty much everyone above top 6 here. So they still need to consider when they are actually going to box onto new tires, because this is going to get very interesting, and nearly a potential spin for Marco here, but nothing actually happens. Helix, send me an invite. I can't do that while I am commentating. I apologize. You know, because I'm trying to focus on other things. Try and get someone else to do it. Jenga Boy in P6 in the Alfa Romeo 14 lap old compounds, like I said already. The McLaren of Omar, obviously a ghost, not the greatest. I need people to stop inviting and messaging me on PlayStation as I am commentating. I am not the guy to ask. Wizzy Boy in P11 in the Red Bull 8 lap old hard compound, so he's done really good to come back from the damages and mistakes that he has made on his behalf and other people's behalf. The Red Bull seeming to get closer to Cialdino and Marco as this fight continues to unfold. Not too bad from the Red Bull driver so far. 15 out of 33 laps. We're getting up to the halfway point of this race here in Portugal, here for round 2, here in F1, here in House of Racing. But eventually these guys need to decide when they're going to box, because it's only going to hurt their tires more and more and more as time goes on. Seb currently P1 with a 1.4 second gap on medium 15 lap old tires. Chimp in P3, so really good from the Alpine here. Obviously because of Josh having a little incident before. There's Jordan up into P11 because of a mistake Hazy has had, so unfortunately some type of spin or some type of loss in rear has seen the McLaren not do too well here. Omar has requested to watch. Yes, I can do that. I need people to stop messaging me, please. I am commentating. How clear do I have to be? Okay, the Alfa Romeo fighting away with the ghost version of Omar here. JJ Alanta or Jordan now catching up to Marco and Wizzy Boy in the Ferrari and Red Bull. It seems it's your boy Alfie, though, the Formula 2 world champion, is the first person to be caught out by that high elevation change and has spun or lost the rear at some point. Unfortunate for the Alpine. Goes down to P15 and is really struggling at the moment. P13 is Omar in the McLaren. So through this corner here, Naismith has now got a 5-second penalty, so something, speeding in the pit lane. So now we start to see the people on the high tyre degradation sign to come out, and I think that's Naismith on hard compounds, or is that more medium compounds? That's very interesting if it's more mediums. Now we see people like Wizzy Boy and JJ Atlanta start to pull away now, who obviously had boxed on the safety car coming out, so not too bad. Wizzy Boy P7, Zinc P6. So a lot of these people who are on 9 lap old compounds are really starting to perform to the top level at the moment. Seb currently in the Ferrari P1, going through the track, swerving left and right, trying to keep it as clean as possible. P1 with an 8.7 gap to Chimp, who is in P2 on the same, I guess, degradation of tyre, with Timu only 4 lap younger, but it seems to be much faster than Chimp at the moment, so we're going to see how that unfolds. But Seb needs to really consider boxing now, with an 8.9 second gap. With Naismith boxing with everyone else who have already boxed, the Ferrari needs to make up a decision and decides to stay out another lap. This is going to be very interesting, as we have well and truly now gone over the halfway mark for the Portuguese Grand Prix. Chimp, though, obviously still needs to box, so Timu, and I guess drivers underneath that, as well as Josh, who still needs to box as well, need to consider strategy, need to consider how things are going to go for this race, need to consider what they can do and how they can do it. Obviously hard compounds can go for a long time, we know that already, but Seb can't go that long for that period of time without something eventually going out of his control. There's Wizzy Boy in P7, as we've seen before. Red Bull doing well and a nice comeback for him. Ozza Swazza picks up another penalty as there seems to be a major collision. There's Omar, who's had a spin with the rear, losing the rear it seems, down to P17 with Itchy Boy Alfie, the F2 champion, on the fresh medium compounds, crossing the line to start lap 18 for himself. Lewis in P15 seems to be fighting away with Ozza Swazza in P16, who's now picked up multiple penalties. I mean, most of this area has obviously Naismith picking up a 5-second penalty after speeding in the pit lane. Chaldinho or Hazy P12, Turrent in P11, Gabby P10 so far, seems to be getting closer to the Ferrari of Marco as we continue to drive around the circuit of Portugal. Yellow flag in the second sector, that seems to be a McLaren, and I think it is Omar. He's just obviously got too much temperature in those tyres, and now he's more bound to spin and make mistakes through the circuit of Portimao. Obviously out in front by a huge gap at the moment is the Ferrari Timu, who's in P3, 2/10th gap for the Haas, 5/10th gap to the Alpine ahead, and at the Haas will get DRS, so will the Williams here, so it's going to be very interesting, as there seems to be a bit of a DRS train forming as Jenga Boy also starts to catch up to the back of this as well, so that's going to be very interesting so far. But right now Seb seems to be really starting to cruise out in front as he continues to gain time. That is Gabby though in the Alfa Romeo getting out of shape, out of place as they retire, trying to figure out where it is. I think it's just in the second, third, so second, start of second, end of first, and we're going to have another safety car coming out. Really unfortunate for Seb, who made an 11.3 second gap, but maybe this is a golden ticket for the Ferrari driver, who might be finally saying okay, it's time to box, we've stayed out long enough, it's time to head into the pit lane. And yes, he finally does make that call. He needs to be careful and not make the same mistake as Naismith, as he does not pick up a 5-second penalty, but Ozza Swazza picks up a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits. So into the pit lane Seb comes, and followed by Chimp. Timu stays out though. Unfortunately for him, he might not be as happy when things do not go his way. Josh is going to come into the pit lane. The odd driver is staying out, like Jordan, who would make more sense, obviously, knowing he made the pit lane there. Is he? You know what? Jordan nearly got past Seb there, but because of safety car conditions, couldn't do it. If they were racing, maybe the Mercedes of Jordan would have already got past him. It's very interesting. So Jordan, you know what? Even though he had a spin, fell down a lot of the grid, was really struggling in that area of time because of strategy. Like I said before, strategy that plays such a huge role. Because of strategy, the Mercedes is now up into P4, Seb is down to P3, Timu and Wizzy Boy are P1 and 2, but and Wizzy Boy getting a bit contacting. Okay, wow, something's happened there. Wizzy Boy takes P1, and it's going to be interesting if he's gained an unfair advantage there. We're going to have to. Okay, Wizzy Boy says he's in P1. I don't know if that's going to be very interesting how that gets played out by the FIA. Seb in P3 bumping the Williams of Timu around. Jordan in P4. P5 is Marco, who is now caught up to Jordan in P4. P6 is Chimp, trying to catch up to the rest of the pack and lead. P7 is Shadow. P8 is Jenga Boy. So Jenga Boy missing out because of pit stops and strategies, so maybe a better choice from people like Jordan and Timu and Wizzy Boy, at least for now. 20 out of the 33 laps completed so far. It's been an honour to commentate for F1 so far. I do appreciate the opportunity once again. Zinc in P9 driving for Haas, so it's been kind of up and down for Zinc so far. Same for Shadow in the Haas, and I think that's Marco coming into the pit now. Obviously not going to have as much success boxing a lap after everyone else box, and it seems he's going to come out P11, so not great. Naismith though might be able to snatch another position. It's going to get very close. You can see him starting to drain the battery. Is the Mercedes going to get by the Ferrari? Yes, he does, and he does it just before the pit exit. It gets very close, but he does get that done. Wizzy Boy says he ain't here. Seb says, well, so what was Seb? Oh wait, no, he isn't here anymore. Yeah, so Wizzy Boy now takes the lead, but Seb on fresh mediums. That's going to be very interesting on how Wizzy Boy can defend, maybe even ruin the race of the Ferrari driver, who has been absolutely speeding it, cruising it through Portimao so far. Had the fastest lap time, seems to have better strategy at the moment. Timu fighting just a bit of a, I guess, area of going up and down through safety car as everyone starts to sort themselves out, and the chaos eventually gets annihilated, removed, and we all go back to square one, as I've said so many times in the past. So lap 21 of 33, the Red Bull of Wizzy Boy leads the Formula 1 Portimao Grand Prix here in House of Racing, but for how long? On those 14-lap-old hard compounds, with Seb on fresh medium compounds, and safety car is in this lap, and you know what, Wizzy Boy trying to get as much of a gap on the Ferrari as possible. JJ or Lance or Jordan right up and personal on the Ferrari, with Chimp just behind him and everyone else starting to gain. So let's have a look at Wizzy Boy. When is he going to pull the trigger? When is the two-time Formula 2 winner going to pull the trigger? He's thinking, warming up the tires, really deciding when he's gonna go, and he goes. He pulls the trigger then. Does Seb see it coming? Yes, he does. ERS active, he's gonna get a really good slipstream. Is he gonna go aggressive on safety car restart? We're gonna have to have a look at the rest of the grid. Jenga Boy down to P5 while fighting away with Shadow in the Haas. It seems to be clean overall, not too bad this time round. Shadow's gonna fight Josh all the way around here in Portimao, bumping side pods and wheels, but it seems Shadow has been able to make the most of it, and Jenga Boy down to P6. Let's go down to the lower midfield as we can see Timu and the Ferrari of Marco getting very close. The Alpha Tauris of Windex and Lewis also fighting away, and there's Ozaswaza. Oh, sorry, Tioran, who's had a spin, but Ozaswaza also getting out of place for a little bit. So P16 and P15 occupied at the moment by Aston Martin, which now makes last place and second last place. So the Alpha Tauri is also starting to gap away from each other as Lewis starts to gain on Timu, nearly bumping the rear of the Williams, but just keeping it clear. ERS active for just a moment, maybe thinking about a potential move, doesn't do it though, keeps it nice and neat, so we'll have to keep a look at that battle later on. Here comes the Alpine on the Mercedes slipstream, potentially a choice that they can make. It's your boy Alfie may be thinking about getting a move done on Naismith. It could be done, but it's a question on if it will be done, because it seems Naismith is starting to pull away on the straight compared to the Alpine of It's Your Boy Alfie. We'll have a look at this area of time though. Wizzy Boy picks up a 3-second penalty as he gets passed by Seb, so unfortunate for the Red Bull there. But no, it doesn't seem It's Your Boy Alfie could make a move through there at the moment. Can he make a move here? He's very close this time round. Still no DRS. I think it's going to be activated next time round. Still no overtakes done for the Alpine. So let's move up now as we can see JJ Atlanta or Jordan in P7. Not amazing for the Mercedes. Not crap though. Obviously on the 15-lap old hard compound, so he still needs to consider when he might box, because that original great strategy is starting to fall apart once again. And if I'm not wrong, that's It's Your Boy Alfie, the Formula 2 champion, once again getting out of place at the tricky high elevation change here around Portimao. Once again Seb getting a 1.1 second gap, really starting to extend that gap immediately, and it seems Seb boxing has really worked out for him. P1 looking very strong, highly likely for the Ferrari driver around Portugal for round 2. As we can see, Shadow in P4 getting closer to Chimp each lap, but it seems Chimp is also going to benefit from the dying tired Red Bull of Wizzy Boy as he continues to fall down the order, it seems. by the time it's maybe lap 25, and maybe even before that, if DRS is now active, which it is for the Alpine, and Red Bull is already out of DRS because Seb has already pulled a gap from the safety car restart. So unfortunate there. Yellow flag in sector 1. I think that's It's Your Boy Alfie once again, and yes it is. Unfortunate for the Alpine driver, unfortunate for the Formula 2 world champion who had such a reputation coming into Formula 1. Zink gets squeezed wide by Naismith, but maybe it's what the Haas wanted, as he might be able to actually have a better exit compared to the Mercedes. I think Naismith is going to stay ahead. It's going to be interesting how the brake zones is looked at. Another outside, or at least a more outside line compared to the Mercedes. Goes the Haas. Can Zink maybe occupy P8 or even P7, which is what is now occupied by both Mercedes drivers, as by Naismith and Jordan, who seem to be trying to pick up pieces, trying to regain what Mercedes had last year, which they have just lost over the last 2 races. It's been unfortunate for them. DRS active for the Haas. Zink now got a good slipstream on the Mercedes of Naismith. Is he able to think about a move? Doesn't do anything yet, actually goes quite wide, nearly off the track. So Naismith and Jordan just seem to be little buddy pals for the moment, but will Naismith switch with the Mercedes of Jordan, because he already has a 1.9 second gap from the McLaren of Hazy, who is in P6, who has actually had quite an up and down race at the moment. There's once again It's Your Boy Alfie really struggling. I think he might be heading into the pit lane, I'm not 100% sure. Yes, and that's even confirmed by the fact he got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So a yellow flag in sector 3, but not too bad. So Hazy doing a good job, up and down, going from the bottom of the grid up to a decent result here in P6, so not too bad, but he does have a penalty that will be applied by the end of the race if he doesn't box again. So Jenga Boy, or Josh, currently in P5, driving for Alfa Romeo. I mean, for the top drivers, apart from maybe Seb, it has not really gone the way they wanted it to go, but nonetheless, it has not been too bad for the top drivers. It's obviously not what they want because they're falling out of their normal position, but they are still gaining very crucial championship points, which might decide something later on in the season when they start maybe doing better or worse. Now the ERS and DRS nearly hitting the front of Jordan, as the front of Naismith, as I'm guessing Jordan tried moving out of the way for Nay. So getting very close there, a bit of rhyming from my commentary, but very close. So potential accident was very close from the Mercedes, but nothing actually happened. The Alfa Romeo of Josh seems to be closing in a little by little each lap on the 3 cars here between Shadow Chimp and the Dying Tire Red Bull of Wizzy Boy, which I'm guessing is his nickname, as he's now on 19 lap old hard compounds. 26 out of 33 laps. I'm guessing Wizzy Boy is choosing to end on these compounds, but with a penalty also applied, maybe it's not worth all the hassle for the Red Bull. Chimp with a P3 position right now. Right now, he'll be moving up to P2. He doesn't even need to really fight the Red Bull. He can just kind of stay in the vicinity and pick up an easy P2. The same for Shadow, but also has a penalty, so maybe has to work a little harder compared to the Alpine. Right now, we're going to have, I guess, a little bit of a DRS train. Will Josh join them? Yes, they will. But it might be for the wrong reason, because here comes Chaldinho on Jenga Boy into the first corner. It seems a switchback for the Alfa Romeo. Is he going to be able to let that stick? No, not well. And it seems a 3-second penalty for track limits is going to see him maybe not doing what he may have wanted. I'm at a loss for words, unfortunately, but starting to regain what I was trying to say. So the AlphaTauri of Lewis in P8, separating the Mercedes of Jordan and Naismith, who are now split because of that AlphaTauri. Haas is of Zink, who's done well in some areas of the race, but unfortunately missing out in others. Not great overall, unfortunately, for the Haas Marco in P11. seeming to maybe get a slipstream on the Ferrari-powered car of Haas. Maybe some type of move through here. It's very difficult, though. He thinks about it, goes very inside compared to the Haas, but misses out big time in the next couple of corners. So it's going to be very interesting what they do around there. So let's go up to the front where we can see Seb pretty much cruising way ahead of the rest of the competition. If I'm not wrong, Wizzy Boy can still pick up a podium, my apologies, because of the penalties that Shadow and Wizzy Boy have. So it may be not all over for the Red Bull, and you know what, he's gaining on Chimp because of the DRS and the lack of DRS that the Alpine currently has, because and that's going to be looked at very strangely. It seems the McLaren and Haas almost shoving Wizzy Boy, making him go sideways, and he falls down to P8, so that is going to be looked at very interesting. I mean, he was on 21 lap hold hards, but it seemed the defending was going well, so that's going to be looked at very hard and interesting from the FIA. So Wizzy Boy currently P8, Lewis P7, Naismith now up into P6, with Hazy maybe picking up a penalty, but I think mainly Shadow in the Haas, who is now in P4. Josh might be able to keep his podium because of the penalty that Shadow has. That is, unless Shadow actually gets past Josh, and then it's up to Josh to fight away once again with the Haas driver. It's been quite an interesting race, to say the least, but maybe not for Seb, as he's just continued to cruise, absolutely enjoying life up at the front. He's pulling over Verstappen, that's for sure. Or at least maybe a Sebastian Vettel, if you get what I mean, because his name's Seb. So yeah, Chimp in P2, 1.6 seconds ahead of Jenga Boy, 5.4 behind Seb. It's a very easy result here to pick up a P2, a solid result, definitely for Alpine, and definitely for himself. It would be... Apologies for that, my bad, we are back. Seb currently in P1 in the Ferrari, with the Alpine of Chimp just behind. Jenga Boy in P3 in the Alfa Romeo, 9 laps, but with the penalty obviously can keep it because of Shadow with his penalty, like I've said before. But obviously Chaldinho is going to be putting the pressure on the Haas of Shadow. There seems to be some type of incident between the Haas and Aston, but it doesn't last very long. Sorry, just being a bit cautious of my surroundings in real life. Zinc picks up a 3-second penalty. That's not going to be great for Haas, who seems to be losing a couple of positions. And AlphaTauri of Windex Bottle Cap in P12, of Timu P11, 24 lap old hard compounds. So I'm surprised he's decided to go that long on hards, but it isn't the most confusing thing I've ever seen in racing. So as we can see, the Haas and McLaren fighting away here in the midfield. This is going to give a big opportunity to Naismith, who is currently P6. Chaldinho now with there seems to be a yellow flag for the Haas. That's going to be interesting. I think he's pulled over, I think, into the pit lane. That's interesting why there's a yellow flag. Let's continue with the fight here for P5 and P4, with the Haas and McLaren fighting away quite a lot here, to be fair, and it doesn't seem the fight is over just about, because the slipstream of Shadow is now going to be picked up, and obviously all of them having penalties, pretty much the penalties don't apply. I mean, Naismith is there though, and Lewis is only 2.1 seconds down, so I'm sure they'll still fall down positions, but overall, them fighting with each other, they won't be affected by themselves, so it's still an interesting fight for them. Jenga Boy still in P3. It seems the gap to Chimp has started to fall away for him. It seems those tyres are just not coming to life at the moment. I mean, it seems off of racing line and setup it's allowing him to still gain, but for how much longer will be the question, because they're all on very similar age tyres from pretty much the top 7 upwards. Anyway, once again, Seb, just the odd look at Seb as he continues to cruise through with only 2 laps remaining of this Grand Prix. Ozaswaza down in P14, Tioran in P13, Windex bottle cap in the AlphaTauri seems to be gaining on the fighting Williams and Ferrari of Timu and Marco. But it seems that is all under control, at least for now. Jordan has definitely not had the race he has wanted. He started, was it P4 or P5 actually? I'm not 100% sure. It may have been P3. I may be completely blind, but it's not gone 100% the way that Jordan has wanted it to go. P9 had a spin, didn't go his way. Strategy also just hasn't been what he wanted it to be. Wizzy Boy in P8, obviously with that penalty applied, I'm guessing Jordan will probably take position there. Lewis in P7, Wizzy Boy getting very close to the AlphaTauri, so respect to Wizzy Boy, he's had quite a race. It's been, you know, decent at multiple different times, but it just hasn't been what a lot of drivers have wanted it to be, specifically Jordan as well, so unfortunate for him. Now let's move back up to the higher midfields, to the actual higher area where we can see Josh starting to continue to gain on Chimp, so maybe not losing time but gaining time to Chimp. But will it matter with this penalty applied to the Alfa Romeo? I think the main thing that matters is making sure to create as big as a gap as possible to the rest of the field that doesn't have a penalty, because right now Cialdini and Shadow, who do have a penalty, won't affect Josh, but Naismith can. Doesn't have a penalty and is only 5/10, 6/10 off the Haas at the moment, so very interesting what that Mercedes will be able to do. Up the elevating area once again, making sure to keep it nice and neat, nice and clean for as much as possible. Any spin up there can completely ruin the race, and unfortunately I think Naismith and Jordan will need as many points as they can get and scrape here in Portimao. So the Ferrari of Marco currently cruising in P10, no issue with any penalties. Unfortunately 2.5, oh hello, nearly touches the gravel. He's gonna see Timu getting by and maybe even Windex bottle cap, so seems to be getting out of place, just couldn't seem to get the power down correctly. It won't be an issue because of penalties, and Marco I think has even got a better exit, both of them struggling with ERS through here. DRS is going to be active for the Ferrari though. Is a move going to be done? Well, no, because of the AlphaTauri. We have a yellow flag in Sector 1. Is that Naismith? It is Naismith. What did I say? I said Naismith could really have some type of bigger incident, and that may not go how he wanted it to go. Let's go up to the front though, because we can see your current race leader on the last lap looking very clean, looking very nice. The Mercedes now P8 and P9. This has not been the race for them. It's going to struggle in the drivers as well as the constructors. Seb though has been clean through it all, had a decent strategy, fell down some positions but made it all back up, started on pole with a 116.9 and has been clean. Absolutely clean. It's the only way to put it. He dominated by creating such a huge gap at times, so he's going to come around the winding last corner, 33 out of 33 laps. It's the Ferrari who will see the checkered flag. He wins the Portuguese Grand Prix, and Chimp is going to have no issue at all, kept it clean through it all. He's going to pick up P2, and will Jenga Boy be able to keep the podium? Yes, he will, and he's done a great job there. So quite an interesting podium here in Portugal, with P4 being Cialdini, P5 Shadow, P6 Lewis, P7 Naismith, P8 Jordan, P9 Wizzy Boy, so still able to pick up points here in Formula 1. Not too bad for Wizzy Boy, and you know what? He's done it. Verstappen has done well. Verstappen has done well here in P9, and it was quite a dirty race, but it also adds to the fun of Formula 1, so P9 for Wizzy Boy, not too bad. And yeah, got shunted 3 times, so a decent result for Wizzy. And Tioran, at least virtually, has picked up driver of the day, but we all know that gets changed in the Discord of House of Racing. Whew, what a race. So now we get to see the Ferrari driver of Seb clean through it all, gets to drive walk up onto the podium, doing his strut doing his celebration. First place for the Ferrari driver. He picks up the trophy, shakes the hand, and now raises his fist for another win, if I'm not wrong, for Seb. And now he gets to spray the bubbly, spray the champagne all over the crowd, all over the drivers that surround him, and it's another podium for the Ferrari driver. Very nice. Very, very nice. Unfortunately, Wizzy Boy got a puncture on the final sector of the last lap, so very close, but still solid result for Wizzy Boy anyway, with Stappen. Solid. Not too bad. I would have gotten a top 5 if it wasn't for the puncture. But yeah. Right. Joshua, Jenga Boy. Here are your standings. So right now in P1 we have Seb, P2 Chimp. I'll just go through it all. Obviously yourself in P3. Now we go down, we can see the rest of the pack. P20, Billy Wiz, Craig. It's honestly, for these drivers, it's been unfortunate. DNFs and retirements. Zinc 4 laps up, obviously because of blue flags. No, if it wasn't for people behind shunting me. Oh, unlucky. Tiorant P11, Marco P10, Wizzy Boy picks up P9. Could have been in a higher result if it wasn't for punctures or shunting. And unfortunate for the Mercedes. Yeah, there you go, Jenga Boy. Alrighty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name has been Jamie Perry. But you can call me Helix. It is the end of the stream. It is the end of round 2. I can do F1 next week, so you may see me, but it may be a Ryan and TJ duo. Good luck in my test. Yeah, thank you. I'm sure I would do fine. But yeah, it's been your boy Helix once again to give you some commentary action. Love commentating F1. It's great to be here. I'm sure I'll be back again. I have next week and the week after that to do commentary without any issue at all. I won't be here at all next week. Well, that's fine. I commentate F2 guaranteed every week, and then F1 I'm guaranteed, well, I have the option to commentate next week and the week after. Anyway, I gotta head off. It's been fun. I love you all. I enjoy commentating so much. I have risked everything, but everything has gone well. Thank you all. Love you all. Bye-bye. And I will see you next week for Formula 2 and maybe even Formula 1. Adios. Goodbye. And peace.